Well, good evening, WNBA and LA Sparks fans. For the final time this offseason, welcome into the LA Sparks 365 Network, your 24/7, 365 comprehensive home of the WNBA and your two-time WNBA champion Los Angeles Sparks. On a day that will forever be going down in the history of the WNBA and the Sparks franchise, welcome to Sparks Watch 1 year later, the final day. Good evening, everybody. Cal McClure joining you folks here solo tonight for the next 60 minutes here on LAS 365 from my comfortable Studio 171 in America's finest city of San Diego, California. Ladies and gentlemen, I know that we have missed the past couple of days because of me starting new jobs like I did today doing some college baseball. But of course, folks, we would not miss the final day of the watch. Of course, with today being the official announcement and the official day where after 35 days of waiting, of deliberation, of petition efforts, and the entire shebang, where today in Los Angeles at Staples Center, we had the press conference involving Magic Johnson, Mark Walter, and WNBA President Laurel J. Ritchie to confirm the sale of the Los Angeles Sparks to Magic and Mark to keep the beloved LA Sparks in Los Angeles. Now, ladies and gentlemen, before we can even talk about today, we have to go back to what had occurred late on February 4th of last year, when I had gotten an email early last year in the morning from Albert Lee, one of our great supporters of the network and a great writer who was one of the three men that kept us involved during the entire 35-day span. And Albert emailed me saying that him, James, and Nate ran out of ideas of what to write about for the Sparks Watch saga because it had dragged on so long, well into February, that Albert basically said, "Cowan, we're out of ideas. What can you do for us?" And I had thought to myself, I'm sure I can help him out in some way. And I think that Albert informed me just to write an article about how I started with women's basketball. And that's about all he wanted, was just, it could be a mini, small, little thing, but just saying, we want to hear from a Sparks fan, because with Albert, James, and Nate living in D.C., in the Bay Area or whatnot, they're not Sparks fans. Albert covers the Wizards and the Mystics. James is writing for the Atlanta Dream. Nate's covering the Warriors and a few other WNBA teams. Pat Friday's covering the Mercury from Chicago. So they needed it to come from a Sparks fan's perspective about not the situation, but just about why would a male sports fan watch the WNBA because after all, it is the most criticized sporting league amongst male sports fans about women's professional athletes. And that was all they wanted, was just, hey, something small. Could be, 2 paragraphs, 5 paragraphs. I ended up writing like a college proficient essay, I think, about the entire thing again, starting 11 years ago on a rainy day during women's basketball season, when I was so privileged and kind of taken back with my uncle. I had gone back east again to kind of go back into story time here about this entire deal. But 11 years ago, saw my first ever game at UConn, of course, and congratulations to Coach Ariema for his 900th career win. A couple nights ago, my uncle that I went to the game with in 2004 was at the game to see history happen. But it all started there when I saw some girl named Diana Taurasi and Sue Bird and Swin Cash all playing, there's either their junior or senior year at UConn, and to see where they went, going number one in previous, in the forthcoming drafts, basically, seeing them play, and then me buying a Diana Taurasi T-shirt, at the UConn bookstore following the game, locked me into the sport, because I figured, I'm a big sports fan, and what I just saw, seeing the great, one of the greatest women's basketball programs play in front of my own eyes, definitely, made me, fan for life of the sport. Then gradually, some players come and go, and of course, you lose a bit of interest, but of course, when you see, and then, going ahead a few years to when I saw Candace Parker play on ESPN in her senior year, where I was about ready, folks, to, take my remote on my television, just go, okay, we'll move on from here. But then to hear the in-studio analyst on ESPN to say, Candace Parker, tournament MVP, Naismith, All-American, SEC Player of the Year, and after just hearing that, like, okay, I'll keep it here for a few minutes, and then after I see what she does against Army, 2 dunks, 10 blocks, the whole shebang, like, okay, I'm following you, and now here we are, to the point where I've interviewed Candace Parker, I've gone to two games in L.A., and again, I've become a very big fan, and have stayed a lifelong fan of the sport, and of course, after seeing Diana and Swin and Sue play at UConn, then, of course, I'd gone to local games in San Diego, saw Janae Morris play, who was a former draft pick of the Indiana Fever at SDSU, and 2 of my close friends, Amber Sprague and Amanda Rigo, play at USD, right down the road from me, and, of course, Amanda's still playing over in Germany. So that's the backstory, and then, of course, catching some of the WNBA early, late 90s, early 2000s, seeing LA repeat in 01 and 02, of course, a defining moment there. And sadly, can't forget, the 08 Malice in the Palace Part 2 between the Shock and Sparks, Candace Parker and Planet Pearson brawling there, of course, Coop and Lambier going at each other. So, of course, there's been some good moments, some forgettable moments, but, of course, it's a reason as to why I became a fan, of women's basketball and whatnot, of course, during my entire tenure here of covering sports here at age 20. But again, folks, today, the most, today, finally, after such, after such a long wait that we've been waiting for so many days, when will we hear news about the Sparks? And then then staying with February 4th of last year, so after I got the email from Albert Lee and I wrote the article, I want to say later that night, Albert shot an email back to me saying, hey, Callan, we've heard something. We have come to a verdict about the Sparks situation from Sue Favor of Hoopism. She informed us that they're going to make a decision tomorrow, but we don't know where it's going to be yet. We don't know if it's going to be in L.A. or Bay Area, but Nate feels it's either going to be the Sparks will be in Los Angeles or the Bay Area. And folks, I will be completely blunt honest with you here. After reading that email from Albert, he put me in a nauseated mode. Nauseated mood where I felt nauseous, stomach cramps, just my mind was going 1,000 miles per hour. My heart rate had increased like, oh, I gotta wait till tomorrow, oh my gosh, I can't take this anymore, I need to know what, will this team be in LA? Can I go see Candace play in person next year? Or will I ever get the chance to see her play in person if the Sparks leave? So I was in a very, and I'm sure a lot of our fans out there can agree that when you heard that they were going to reach a resolution, you were instantly put in a, not panic, you were a bit relieved that they had finally gotten to a resolution, but like, you were anxious, you were on the edge of your seat, your palms were sweaty, and your breathing had increased because you're wondering, where will they be? Are they going to still be in LA, being the marquee mother franchise of the WNBA, or are they going to have a fresh start in the Bay Area that may have lingering side effects to the league as a whole? And then even later that night, so I mean, just staying with February 4th here before we get to today, Chris had called me. Chris Mancy, my co-host, who's not here tonight, had called me, just saying, man, I mean, what have you mean? He said, have you heard anything? I mean, he was excited, but kind of panicked a little bit at the same time, like, oh my God, man, what have you heard? Is there any news yet? And it was at that same time where Chris had called me, where it was broken by Michelle Smith and Michelle Volpel from ESPNW saying, yes, LA Sparks fans, we have good news for you. And when we had heard when I had heard the news that the Sparks were staying, and when I had told Chris, dude, just confirmed, the Sparks are staying in Los Angeles, there was dead silence for a whole minute and a half, maybe 2 minutes, because Chris was that shocked, and I wish he was here to articulate about that, because we always talk about this too, about Chris being on the bus, going home from work, and me telling him that the Sparks were staying in LA, where there was just where I didn't hear a single thing for a whole 2 minutes, because I thought the guy had passed out and fainted. And I'm being blunt honest, man, sorry, but that's the emotion just pouring out of Chris for what had happened with this entire thing was, again, after the hard work and effort put forward for the petition, being here for the fans, and getting the word out to over, 1,170 people in a 9-day span, to get over 1,000 people in 9 days, to have all this hard work pay off to where it had gone from being possibly going to the Bay Area. Then there's talk of an LA group. 2 LA groups come forward. Then you hear, the Lakers getting involved, where it's a 3-on-1, handicap against the Bay Area. Then LeCobe leaves on Super Bowl Sunday a couple days ago. Then we hear that, okay, we've got a resolution, and then you finally hear that the Sparks are staying in LA. It's a complete whirlwind, a roller coaster of emotion that we all felt on February 4th into February 5th, where we had the official press conference with Magic and Mark at Staples Center last year. But again, folks, I truly can't articulate the emotion, the feeling, the reaction to not only reading the tweet and telling it to Chris, but also, again, having dead air on the phone for about 2 minutes. I really thought that Chris had fainted, he had lost his mind, he was going crazy, because I didn't hear anything on the phone for 2 minutes. It was a little sketchy, yes, but it was amazing. Again, just to be able to be a part of something this spectacular for this league. Again, I know that we said it a lot last year on the Sports Lounge on the Calamac 94 YouTube channel, and we talked about it the past couple of days on the watch here, was just to know that 2 gentlemen played a very small role in saving a women's pro team, again, in a league that no one really can give, 2 cents about, was flattering. From the time that Albert had written the article on Switchappeal about our effort, and then to have it balloon between Switchappeal and Sue and Hoopfeed, ESPNW, Ramona Shelburne, then between the players that we had of Candace Parker and Tina Thompson, Cynthia Cooper, who were all loving and so caring about me and Chris helping out our effort, from the fans and also from the fans of all 12 teams, not only LA fans, but of course the entire fan base, from X Factor and Storm Crazies, Los Links, the Liberty fans, everyone else across the league. Again, just to know again, when we read that tweet, or when I read that tweet again, that it felt like the weight of the globe was off my shoulders. Just to be a part of something so spectacular for a pro sports team and pro sports league was phenomenal. And again, we'll talk more, of course, over the next hour, of course, about the entire thing. But folks, rekindling again. So we had a 40-minute block on one of my last Sports Lounge shows last year, where Chris and I just marveled about the entire offseason in a nutshell. We talked about the press conference a bit, but then just went back in, folks. We'll do that, of course, for the next hour here. But again, we're going to go to a few press releases that we had read last year on the Sports Lounge on the Calamac 94 YouTube channel. I'll read them for you folks here and now from last year. Saved by the Bell. That's for you, CP3. Yeah, Saved by the Bell. Saved in perfect condition still, folks, are my notes that I read for you folks about what's been going on. The WNBA and NBA Board of Governors have unanimously approved the purchase of the LA Sparks by an investment group led by Earvin Magic Johnson and controlling owner of the Los Angeles Dodgers, Mark R. Walter. WNBA President Laurel J. Ritchie announced today. The investment group includes Dodgers co-owners Todd L. Boley, Robert L. Patton, and Stan Kasten. Ritchie was joined by Johnson at the press conference at Staples Center. The franchise will remain in Los Angeles and play at Staples Center. The WNBA's 2014 game and TV schedule will be announced this week. Laurel's quote reads, "We are thrilled to welcome Magic Johnson and Mark Walter to the WNBA. With their proven track record in the business realm, their commitment to the city of Los Angeles through civic engagement and their passion for the game of basketball, we look forward to partnering with our new owners to usher in a new era for this iconic team. This is a great day for LA, the Sparks franchise, its players, and of course, the loyal fans who have been so supportive of the team for the past 17 seasons." Close quote. Of course, Magic Johnson's quote, of course, that was played during the home opener of before the pregame intro anthem by Rankin J. The quote reads, "This is a great day for the city of Los Angeles and the Sparks. The leaders of this great city came together quickly to keep this franchise right where it belongs, in the city of Angels. Thanks to my sister Evelyn playing college basketball, I have a great appreciation of the talented players that represent the WNBA. Our group will now work together to bring our loyal fans another WNBA championship. Close quote. Again, folks, so much, happened on that day last year, where I was up at 7 a.m. because of my dog, and basically broke Twitter. I basically broke Twitter on February 5th, retweeting and favoring and even quoting Magic during the press conference of this great day. And of course, the other thing we'll read here, folks, of course, is the letter straight off the desk last year from President Laurel Richie. She writes, "Dear Los Angeles Sparks fans, I know that the past few weeks have been full of uncertainty as we look to find a new ownership group for your beloved Sparks. I want to personally thank each and every one of you for your patience and ongoing support. Today I have some very good news to share. The WNBA and NBA Board of Governors have approved the sale of the Sparks to an investment group led by Irvin Magic Johnson and Mark Walter, the chairman and controlling owner of the LA Dodgers. We are thrilled to welcome Magic, Mark, and their partners to the WNBA. As the owners of the LA Dodgers, this group is no stranger to the LA sports community, and Magic is clearly no stranger to LA basketball, having spent his entire professional career with the Lakers. We are proud to have them join the WNBA family and are equally proud to be joining their family. The future for the Sparks couldn't be brighter under the leadership of this new ownership group. And I don't know about you, but I can't wait for the season to begin. Thanks again for your patience. And here's to a terrific 2014 season. Signed, WNBA President Laurel J. Richie." Well, folks, we know though that President Richie and the league got a very, very bad rep from the entire fan bases for mishandling the situation in a very small way. Now, if you recall, folks, that maybe early on the network, maybe even back on the Sports Lounge, how Chris and I may sound amped and animated and fired up and furious about the situation, folks, but again, we have to remember that this was a private internal matter. This was between President Richie negotiating with Richard LeCobe, with the Warriors, and of course the other two LA groups. So I know that we were a bit upset that there wasn't any news from the Sparks or the league, but again, a private in-house matter is what this was. I know it dragged out for 35 days, but again, there was a lot that happened behind the scenes that we will have no knowledge about because we don't know what was going on at WNBA headquarters in New York City when they were trying to figure all of this out. And again, I know that we had given Laurel a hard time for, either her failed, effort in this saga, but folks, I knew though that she was going to go above all efforts. I knew she would take, go beyond all efforts to keep the Sparks in Los Angeles. We know that we had Joe LeCobe come in early in the watch, but again, I think we all knew though that Laurel was going to try her best, go over her back and mind to keep the Sparks in Los Angeles. And again, I know that everyone gave her a hard time for the reasons that were listed earlier about, why are you not saying anything about this? We know that this is going on, so why not talk about this? And again, we have to remember, again, this was a private internal matter handled by the WNBA, the Sparks, the Warriors, and Joe LeCobe and the other ownership groups involved here. But again, folks, just so much emotion, poured out of the Sparks fan bases. Technically, folks, it actually poured out of the entire league's fan base. I'll just say that. I think that as we look back on February 5th, before the press conference, after the press conference, where we had an all-day special on the Calamac 94 YouTube channel about the Sparks staying in Los Angeles, that everyone across the league, Sparks fan or not, you guys were all relieved. I think we can all say that you were all relieved when the Sparks were bought, yes, but also relieved that they stayed in Los Angeles. I know that a lot of the great fans that signed from opposing teams, like Jessica, who operates the DT Bun page on Twitter, Rashad and Kirby, Matt, who's a Mercury fan too, Owly, and everyone else that signed that we've become, great friends with on Twitter. You guys signed, to say, keep this team in LA. I know that I don't support the Sparks, but it won't be the same playing them in the Bay Area, because there's too much history associated, as we said, there's too much history with the Sparks tied in, that again, that everyone that signed that was not a fan of the Sparks, like the Mercury fans in Seattle and across the whole league, they signed, again, just to say, keep them in LA. We don't want to see this team leave for the Bay Area. And again, I know that we applaud everyone for signing, but again, that is the whole ordeal here again is, again, the petition, again, very small role of keeping the team in Los Angeles, but again, signed by not only Sparks fans, but the entire league, again, saying, don't move them out of Los Angeles. And again, we'll get to that, of course, throughout the remainder of tonight's show for the next 40 minutes. But again, folks, I'm going to go to Chris and myself's side of the story real quick. In case I know that you folks are probably saying, what was the sport? What's the Sports Lounge on your YouTube channel? The Sports Lounge was my regular sports show I did on the weeknights to cover the regular mainstream. But as I entered broadcasting school in February, I stopped doing it because of my schedule. Plus, I didn't feel like doing it. I just didn't feel like covering the mainstream. So that's why we started this network, was because I wanted to predominantly do the WNBA and the other sports I cover. But we had done we had our entire day recap show the day the Sparks were bought this time last year. And I remember that Chris was so fired up, so emotionally spent from the entire 35 days, folks, that Chris fell asleep on the air. I think I actually put him to sleep because I had read 3 straight press releases from the WNBA, 3 of these, about the Sparks staying in Los Angeles. And I think I had put Chris to sleep because I remember he didn't answer. I remember that he wasn't going to be there, or he was there, but something happened where he just fell asleep, and I ended up doing doing that whole show by myself. I'm doing this one tonight. But I knew, though, that when Chris fell asleep, he wasn't doing it to upset me, but he was like, dude, I don't know if I can do the whole block with you because look what we just did. I mean, we just, an idea that we thought was crazy, stupid, idiotic, dumb, ridiculous, that this thing was the talk of women's pro basketball for 35 days, and that we just saved a pro sports team. That fans, not some famous celebrity, but the fans of the entire league, along with some players, the media, and a lot of other great people, that they saved a professional sports team. And I know that I said that it was we, but I know that it was Magic and Mark that bought them. But again, folks, there was a very, very microscopic role played by everybody that signed that petition to keep the Sparks in Los Angeles. And I know that I've said that dozens upon dozens of times across platforms, that it wasn't just Sparks fans. I know that I repeat myself a lot, folks, but again, but this is just getting all the emotion out of me. Every time I repeat stuff, it's just, it redawns on me again. It's kind of like, it's a V8 moment, basically. Again, I only rekindle everything, folks, so many times because it was just simply incredible of what not only Chris and I did, plus the Sparks fans, but what the entire WNBA family did. I mean, it was just simply incredible to be a part of. And I know that Chris and I were the talk of the league for the 35 days, from Swish Appeal to local LA newspapers, small town papers, WNBA blogs, forums, websites had taken a lot of the issue. But again, it was just so rewarding, folks, and to be a part of something so special. Again, just to be a part of this was absolutely phenomenal. But I think, folks, as we look back again, we're just going to go over the entire one now for the next half an hour. But again, ladies and gentlemen, Sparks Watch 1 year later, final day where Magic Johnson bought the Sparks. Again, folks, Magic Johnson topped our list of possible LA suitors. I know that I had said a couple of crazy and wacky ones. The serious ones, though, were Magic, Jeannie Buss, Lisa Leslie, but then, of course, there were some of the shenanigans like the Red Hot Chili Peppers, or some, or some A-list celebrity would buy the team and keep them in Los Angeles. But again, the right person, the right group came forward to buy the Sparks and keep them in Los Angeles. But again, folks, it's been fun sitting here for the past 8 shows we've done here to recap the entire offseason, whether it's been me and Chris or just me by myself here. But it's been so fun to sit here and just reminisce again and just sit back and close your eyes and just think back, flashback, to what was and what is, a permanent defining moment in WNBA history, which is the petition started by me and Chris to save not only the Sparks, but save our 11 friends in the WNBA. I mean, I know that Albert Lee, when he blogged about when we first made the petition and when he wrote that article for us back on day 3 or 4, that he didn't agree with me about the Sparks folding, which would equal the death blow. I mean, you can look at it both ways. I mean, it was going to be one or the other. It was going to be either the death of the league or a very significant blow to the league. And frankly, in my view, it could have been option A, where it was going to be the end of the league, be the end of the league as a whole. That's just my take on it. Where if you lose the marquee team, the whole league's going to crumple eventually. I mean, that's just my take. I know we can agree to disagree, but again, I mean, just I guess kind of going back to me and Chris again, folks. It's bad enough that I have horrible sleeping habits where I go to sleep at between midnight or 3 a.m. because of work or playing with my dog perhaps or whatever it might be, folks. I've got very bad sleep habits, but again, it was magnified, though, during the watch last year, where for 35 days, or at least 30 of the 35 days, Chris and I broke Twitter. I mean, we broke social media. We were bringing the mail again. Bringing the male side of the story into the WNBA, and again, also, it was probably the most grueling time I've been through. I mean, it doesn't come close to me announcing those 32 basketball games in 3 days for the Under Armour Classic back over Christmas, but it's damn sure close. I mean, to be awake, from 11 o'clock till midnight, 1, 2, or even 3, sometimes 4 a.m., just to get someone to sign a petition that you thought when you first started was going to be, crazy, stupid, idiotic, dumb, and that you would become the laughingstock of American pro sports because you tried to save a WNBA franchise. It was rewarding. It was rewarding, shocking, mind-blowing, being taken back, but it was flat out incredible to be a part of again, folks. And I know I said it was incredible, but it truly was. I mean, for what we did over that span with the petition, between getting, thinking, okay, great, we're going to start this thing. It's going to be, we're going to get 5 people to sign. We'll get 5 people to sign, and we're going to be, put it up on the bulletin board. For most embarrassing professional sports fans. They would say Cal McClure, Chris Mancy, 2 guys that try to save the WNBA. I thought that's what it was going to be like. We were going to, we were going to be, basically, court jesters, I guess, for the whole sports world because we tried to save a WNBA franchise. But in the end, where you had 2 personal assistants between our go-to ladies, Shorty Mamba 24, I know you're watching, Trisha Hardy, if you're watching in South Carolina, where they helped us out to bring in Candace Parker, to bring in Tina Thompson, Cynthia Cooper, Marissa Coleman, Ramona Shelburne, Delisha Milton-Jones, and to bring in LA writers, WNBA writers like James, like Nate, like Albert, and I know you guys are going to be watching. Shout out to you fellas. To Sue Favor, to hoopfeed.com, to other women's basketball websites that put the petition link somewhere on their site, wrote articles about me and Chris and our ongoing activism for the league, to where we had local small LA newspapers like Media City Groove covering us, and of course the day-by-day grind of Albert Lee, of James Bowman, of Nate Parham at switchbill.com, for them for 35 days to keep the fan bases of the league in the loop, just saying, I've got something here, come back and talk to me later, I want to have some more information. So many people, not named Callum McClurg and Chris Romancy, folks, there were other unsung heroes that played a role in keeping this team in Los Angeles. Between my go-to girl, Candace Parker, between two legends, in Tina Thompson, to Cynthia Cooper, to an aged, seasoned veteran in Delisha Milton-Jones, to a tremendous LA sports writer and radio host in Ramona Shelburne, and of course to the other gentlemen with the petition, the other guys with the petition, Albert, James, and Nate at switchbeal.com, to Sue Favor, who's become a very good contact for me and for the network as well, and then of course to the great staff at hoopfeed.com, just for what they did, to help spread the word for us, and also to, just to say, hey, I've got some news about the situation. I'll bring some more to you when I have some more, stuff like that. And then of course, I'm not saying folks, scratch that out. I'm not saying, the 11 other teams now. Our 11 friends that also helped out, between the defending champs in Phoenix, the Storm Crazies in Seattle, San Antonio, Tulsa, everybody, our 11 friends that also helped out, from Jessica, who operates the DT Bun page on Twitter, gonna name drop a few friends of mine on Twitter, from Jessica, to Rashad and Kirby and Corey, who are huge Lynx fans, to Ali Waka, a huge Mystics fan, so many great people that also helped out, and of course, the fans that also signed from our 11 friends. Everyone else had signed. That when I read when I read your responses, it didn't say California. It said Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado. The entire U.S. Even signatures folks from Russia came in. We had Russia, a couple of European countries also signed. So, it may not have been huge news to the average sports fans, but it was certainly huge news though across the WNBA and women's basketball home front, where it grabbed your attention. Where you read the mission statement, like you're reading that the Sparks the Sparks ownership leaves, that they're possibly leaving for the Bay Area, and that the mission was to keep the team in LA, not fold the franchise or move them, and that we asked for anybody, whether they were whether they are or weren't a WNBA fan, just to sign and help out. I mean, and the best story, folks, I can think of is when I went to a baseball fan group one night and I said, look, I know this is baseball, but I have one very, very off-the-wall request. If you're a basketball fan, whether you watch the women's game or not, can you help a brother out? I pulled 2 people to sign the petition out of that fan group, where Chris had gone to some of his loyal and best friends on YouTube, he made a video for the campaign, the Save Our Sparks campaign video he made, where he got 2 people to sign that weren't WNBA fans. It was truly, it was remarkable. I mean, just to see that there was outside help, and also, folks, what was more rewarding is, again, folks. Okay, I'll say this. I've watched more WNBA games by myself or with my mom. Duh, come on now. She's a woman and she likes the product, actually. But I had told my folks, though, that Chris and I had made this petition, and my parents were like, "Callan, what a tremendous thing for you guys to do." I mean, and my dad, who went with me to the Sparks home opener, more so to see Magic Johnson in the game, but he's not, he wasn't the biggest WNBA supporter until we had gone to the game back on my birthday against Phoenix. But they both said, you guys are doing something that, frankly, I don't think any other sports fans would do, and that is something like this, which is, showing activism, showing that, hey, the Sparks fan base is still here. We're not going anywhere, so why bother, doing this? We're going to voice our opinion in one way, shape, form, or size, and that's what it was. And also, folks, I know that Chris and I had pleaded and, begged almost to not be thanked, but, I mean, I look at it this way, folks. When we had gone to the home opener back on May 18th for my 20th birthday at Staples, and I had met Jack Nick and Vicky and Deborah and a few other, and Gina and a few other of their friends, they had said, "Thank you for the petition efforts," or "Thank you for the off season." I said, "I'll accept it, guys," but again, there was no need to thank me for what we did. I mean, it was more so, again, as folks, as you know, I've said this numerous times for so many days, weeks, and months here. Again, the petition, again, folks, was not made by Chris and I because we had tried to go to a Sparks home game. Again, we were doing it again to be a broken record for the 88th time. The petition was only made for the fans of the Sparks and the WNBA to voice their opinions and say, please don't move the Sparks out of Los Angeles. Just please don't do it, because it's going to have a negative side effect on the team. And and folks, at both games I went to against the Merc and the Libs, fans recognized me because of the petition campaign. And it was sort of the Hollywood fame that Chris and I had marveled about, where we thought that that the Sparks would call us up and say, "We'd love to bring you guys out to a game, just because of what you did for us during the off season, with this petition campaign," and that Chris and I would be flown into LA, chauffeured to Staples, and we'd have a huge press conference. We'd have courtside seats. We'd be honored before the game. That was sort of the treatment I got, you can say, in a way, at both home games I went to, where the Sparks came on Twitter. You know who you are: Jack Nick, Vicky Russo, Deborah, Jean, who I had met at the first game, Elisa, and everyone else that I met at the second game. That you guys, in a way, sort of treated me like the Hollywood celebrity that I didn't want to be because of the petition campaign. I mean, from Jack Nick's FedEx package that is still on my bed full of stuff for Candace Williams to sign next time I bump into her sometime soon, hopefully, of how it was, game programs, the courtside signs, as you see above my no lifeguard on duty side, folks. Supplied in the thing was also all of the courtside paper that's along the courtside seats at Staples, to the game programs, the Beat Phoenix sign that I still haven't put up on my wall yet, and of course the post-game autograph coupons, and again, for them being so kind, nurturing, and loving to let me, have my one special day, at a game, at Staples Center, and to see both Diana and Candace Parker play in person, my two favorite WNBA players. to see Brittany Griner play in person too, in her 6'8" size, and see her play so great, and to watch a great game. I know the Sparks lost by 5, but to see two of the greatest WNBA franchises play, to be with my dad and to meet Magic Johnson, see my man DJ Mulsky and hear one of my favorite voices, Hootie Hoo, at the press table, CJ Mulsky, and of course getting high-fived by Candace, getting Elena Beard to sign after the game, and Nikki Green to sign after the game, the first game at least. Took a dad and his son up to the game against New York, and yeah, Candace Parker didn't play, bit bummed. The Sparks lost that game too, but above all, of course, getting to meet Candace after the game, so fulfilling, so rewarding. Again, and again, just to reiterate again that she recognized me from Facebook and Twitter. Had a good convo with me the second time I met her after the game. For her to be so kind to give me a hug after the game was over was so cool. And of course, later on, again, to interview Candace Parker and Candace Williams for school, and to still be in contact with them even afterwards is truly an honor, to be able to call two pro athletes your best friends on social media. And I know that Wiggs had mentioned that in our interview, that yeah, we are BFFs on Twitter and Instagram along with Parker. But again, folks, to sort of be treated this way by not only one fan base, but 12 of them is great. I know, folks, that I am neutral. I say that a lot, folks. I know that when I was younger, I'd say Phoenix sucks. But again, folks, with my job, I can't be that way anymore, because broadcasters have to be neutral, unbiased and objective and stuff, folks. And again, I've been able, as tough as it may be, folks, with my job, I've been able to respect the other teams of all the pro leagues that I cover, between hockey, soccer, college baseball, and of course the WNBA. But folks, again, to know though, folks, that the network itself, again, kind of going off beat here, to know though that myself, more so than Chris, but more so me and the network, has been embraced by everybody across the league is also a true honor again. And to be able to be, and also to be able to be friends with so many of the great fans of our other friends in the league, again, from Jess, from Rashad and Kirby and Corey, Allie, and other friends that we've made, again, to be able to be friends with them, and to be a part of a tremendous fan base where we don't kill people because I'm an LA fan and Jess is a Mercury fan. We're not, fighting over that, and we're not killing each other because we root for different teams, folks. And to be able to respect everyone's opinion about their team, and to be able to say that a friend of yours, like Jess and Rashad and Kirby, Tim and Eric, that aren't Sparks fans, to say that they're friends of mine, we're not bitter rivals, is something that I think we all wish pro sports could be like. I think we all wish that all pro athletes would take that 1 hour to talk to fans on Twitter, or give an interview to someone like me that is not a pro but learning broadcasting. And I think that we can all agree, though, too, that we wish that all pro sports were the same way, where we wouldn't have to talk about people getting killed at sporting events, or all this nonsense, folks, that has happened in pro sports with the fans, at least. I think we all wish that all sports were like the WNBA, where we're not out here arguing and chastising and killing people and threatening people because I bleed purple and gold, and Rashad and those guys, bleed blue, bleed blue and silver, or because, Jess bleeds, or that Jess, has one more ring than the Sparks and she bleeds purple and orange. I mean, that, I think, is why, or what we all wish pro sports could be like, is that we could all respect everyone's opinion on who they root for and why they root for those teams, and not because, and not to make it not to make it, a killing frenzy because, I rep, LA and someone else reps Minnesota or reps Phoenix, where we are all brothers and sisters, basically, because we all are locked into the sport for a lot of great reasons as to why it might be. But again, folks, here on Sparks Watch, final day, Magic Johnson on this very date, our Throwback Thursday on the Sparks Network handle today on Twitter. Again, on this very date last year, Magic Johnson, Mark Walter, confirming their purchase of the WNBA's LA Sparks to keep the franchise in Los Angeles, California. Now, folks, as we know, today is our final day of Sparks Watch. So, folks, coming up on Monday, we will be getting back to WNBA offseason, folks. There's been a lot happening across the WNBA. We'll get to all that, folks, on Monday. Now, folks, program alert for you folks coming up next weekend. I'm going on a much-deserved and much-needed permanent vacation to Denver, Colorado for 5 days. I'll be gone Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. I need a break, folks. In case folks have not heard, I have just been hired today by the Point Loma Nazarene University baseball team to announce their games on the internet. So that has made my schedule even more congested, where I'm now covering 5 teams for school. So that means tomorrow I have a triple header. I have 2 games tomorrow for baseball and a hockey game to announce. So I'm going to be dead tired, folks. So again, I am going on a much needed and much well-deserved vacation Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday to the Rocky Mountains of Denver, Colorado. Check my IG, Facebook, and Twitter out for photos from Denver. But folks, going back to our task at hand again, we're going to probably wrap up here in a few minutes here. Probably about 4 minutes or so here, folks, we'll wrap up our final day coverage. But again, folks, today, again, to put a nutshell again, folks, Magic Johnson buying the Sparks today, keep the Sparks in Los Angeles after a 35-day wait. After the initial news, folks, of January 2nd, when the Sparks ownership left the Sparks in the dust, to the first news of the Warriors getting involved, to our petition, all the way until the Warriors possibly buying the Sparks in a 2 to 3 week window, to the Sparks, to a possible LA ownership group coming forward. Then 2 came forward. Then the Lakers got involved. Then Joe Lacob announced they're not going to buy the team. And then, of course, February 5th and 4th, when the rumors came true yesterday, when Magic Johnson, when it was confirmed that there was a group in LA going to be buying the Sparks. Then, of course, today, with the Sparks being bought and saved by Magic Johnson in the city of Angels. Again, folks, even though the Sparks season is come and gone, and coming around the corner very soon, folks, of course, follow the Sparks on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, on YouTube, and of course on LinkedIn at facebook.com/LA Sparks, on Twitter and IG at LA_Sparks, on Pinterest at Pinterest.com/The Los Angeles Sparks, on YouTube at YouTube.com/user/The Los Angeles Sparks, and of course, you can also connect with the Sparks on LinkedIn as well at LinkedIn.com/LA Sparks. Again, folks, it was one hell of a journey that we were on. And again, folks, as we wrap up here for the night, after 35 days of silence from the first news of the Sparks ownership group leaving to the first group coming forward in the Golden State Warriors, to the start of what would be a defining moment in WNBA history, where 2 random gentlemen showed the interest in the WNBA in women's pro sports, had this crazy, wacky, stupid idea to create a petition for the fans to sign to keep the Sparks in LA, that would end up going from a stupid thought, would end up becoming a defining moment for centuries in WNBA lore, that got 1,170 signatures, that would play a very small role in having the LA Lakers and 2 other groups come forward to rescue the beloved Los Angeles Sparks from contraction or possible relocation. With that, folks, we will see you folks back here in a week on Monday. in a couple of weeks. Until then, folks, please have a safe night. Drive home safely. Thank you all for coming. And good night now. This has been Sparks Watch 1 year later, recapping recapping the offseason that almost ended the WNBA and the Los Angeles Sparks. We'll see you folks sometime very soon, following a much-needed permanent vacation to Denver, Colorado. For Chris Romanci in Anaheim, Cal McClurg inside of Studio 171 in San Diego. We'll see you folks sometime soon. We are Sparks. We are LA. We are the WNBA. See you folks sometime soon. Thanks for joining us here thanks for joining us here on Sparks Watch 1 year later, the offseason that almost ended with WNBA and LA Sparks. See you folks sometime soon, and good night. Bye bye.